Your Honor. The last time I was here, his Honor stole my itinerary, so today I'm actually guarding it with my life. Both look lovely today. Welcome to the first annual Pride Citizen of the Year Award Ceremony. This award is presented by the St. John's Pride Committee under the distinguished patronage of the Honourable John Crosbie, Lieutenant Governor of Newfoundland and Labrador. Today, we publicly recognize and applaud one of our own, a dear friend of mine, an advocate of yours, who has worked tirelessly to defend our rights for more than 20 years. But no one said it was easy. And one cannot comment on the contribution of Susan Rose without considering what her generation was up against. In our country, until 1969, certain forms of our sexual expression were criminalized. Between 1952 and 1977, immigration law prohibited our entry into Canada. We were treated as mentally ill until 1973, and were prevented from serving openly in the armed forces until 1992. We have suffered similar discrimination in areas such as employment and housing, and were not afforded the protection of human rights laws until very recently. We have been systematically excluded from numerous federal, provincial, and territorial statutes in areas such as family, immigration, tax, pension, and succession law, alienating not only our partners, but also our children. We have been the targets of hate crimes and have frequently been deprived of adequate police protection. We have been subjected to verbal harassment and have also endured damaging stereotypes such as the myths that we are sexual predators, child molesters, and unfit parents. We have been stereotyped as unloving and incapable of personal commitment, and our relationships have been devalued and treated as unworthy of recognition. An additional barrier has been the invisibility imposed on us by society, maintained by the pressures that force many of us to remain closeted. The most tragic consequence of this marginalization is the high rate of suicide among lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans-identified youth. Our contributions to civilization have been obscured through the removal of historical references to homosexuality. Within our school curriculum, for example, we simply do not exist. We have fought no battles, held no offices, solved no equations, written no literature, created no art, built nothing, and invented nothing. The lesson being taught to heterosexual students is that we have done nothing of consequence. The lesson being taught to homosexual students is much worse. No one like you has ever done anything worth mentioning. But Susan Rose has been working to change that for longer than you know. In 1992, she lobbied the Department of Education, the Newfoundland and Labrador Teachers Association, and the Eastern School District for the protection of gay and lesbian teachers. As a teacher, she was aware that being open about her sexual orientation in school meant that she could lose her job. When meetings with government officials, school board employees, and members of the teachers union failed, she and some friends formed the Newfoundland Amazon Network and lobbied government for the inclusion of lesbians and gays into the Human Rights Code. In 1998, they were successful, and lesbian and gay teachers were finally protected. In 1999, she and her partner, Anne Shoro, were interviewed by CBC as an out lesbian couple. A gutsy move, considering she taught at one of the largest high schools in our province. She and others also edited a resource book on homophobia for schools, which was written by Anne Shoro. Though it was funded by the Departments of Education and Justice, the book never made it into the classrooms. After years of endless meetings explaining how the impact of homophobia was making her work environment toxic, Susan felt she had no other choice but to resign in 2006. She continued her lobbying, however, as a board member of Egal Canada, and was instrumental in launching the first national survey on homophobia in Canadian schools. She also helped to develop a workshop with Planned Parenthood about sexual orientation and presented it in high schools across our province. In closing, Carl Menninger once wrote, "What the teacher is more important than what he or she teaches." And Susan, what you are, what you continue to be, is the best lesson you can teach any of us. Mr. and Mrs. Crosbie, it is my honor to present to you Susan Rose, this year's recipient of the Pride Citizen of the Year Award.